Caller, you on the air on Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. This is Jhyve calling.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. What's up?
I'm doing pretty good. Just chilling, man. Let's go ahead and begin. Um, what got you into doing music?
Oh man, I don't even know. That's a kind of a long story. I've been doing music, maybe 7 years or so. Um, let's see, I'm pushing like 28 now. So yeah, give or take 7 years. Um, I don't really, I don't know. I feel like my story is a little unconventional compared to um, other people, I guess, that are in the industry now singing. I didn't really start singing when I was a child. I didn't really sing in choirs when I was a kid. It wasn't really a story like that. It happened like well into adulthood. Um, I guess I just, I guess people that were close to me, saw me singing and whatnot, and they always encouraged me to keep doing it, keep trying it out. And then I guess one fateful day, I entered a singing competition. This was years ago, and actually did surprisingly well, given it was like a first, public appearance, singing anything for that matter. And then from then it was just like people around me just encouraged me to keep doing it, and I guess they noticed that there was something going on there. There was some kind of talent. I started writing, teaching myself to play guitar, taught myself to start, making beats and producing and stuff. And after a while, it just kind of escalated. It was very organic. There wasn't any like, coach or anything. It was just all self-taught, and it was just really a slow development over the course of years to where it is today. And I'm proud of where it is today. So yeah, it's just kind of been a long road, but here we are.
In your music, not only do you rap, but you sing as well. And you know how people want to label people. If you are a rapper or you're a singer, how would you best describe your music?
How would I best describe my music? That's a good question. I think if anything, um, the two words I'd kind of describe it as um, eclectic and personal. Um, Eclectic because I really kind of pull from a lot of places. I had a lot of influences coming up, whether it was my parents with my West Indian roots, or like a lot of the '90s R&B and B and stuff that I'd hear my mom playing that I'd kind of tune into, or even up into later where I started, broadening and getting into anything from like house to like classic rock, and it's all influences in my music, and you can kind of hear it all. So I'd call it eclectic. I'd also call it personal because I write everything, I mean, at the end of the day, I bleed on my tracks, it all really comes from the soul, it's really something I'm going through, something I want to say. Um, I never waste bars, there's always something I'm trying to get across. So I think if anything, yeah, eclectic and personal are the two best words I'd use to describe my music.
So I'm a fan of yours, by the way, and I've listened to
Thank you.
majority of your music. And I mean, there's not a whole lot of artists, whether it's indie or unsigned or mainstream, can do swapping and singing and be effective with it. There's not a whole lot of artists that can do both, blend in the two, and the music sounds good. So I give you a lot of credit for that. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Who do you consider as influences in your music?
Oh man, I'd say the influences are kind of broad. They kind of span everything. Um, Everything. I mean, being an '80s baby. I mean, I'm the child of like that entire era where it was everything like Mike, like MJ, Prince. Coming up in the '90s, there was bands like Tribe. I remember when I first got into music myself. Um, was listening like Outkast. I remember the first mixtape I had a friend, make for me. There was a mix of like Wu Tang, like there was some Wu Tang 36 Chambers on it. Um, there was like the Biggie One More Chance remix, and there was Elevators by Outkast. And I remember playing that for like the better part of like 6 or 8 months. Like you couldn't get it out of like my tape player. Um, and it's just, I don't know, it just kind of stuck with me. So I've got roots everywhere, man. I'd say yeah, like Outkast. I mean, um, a lot of that East Coast hip hop in the '90s and stuff. I mean, I bump with that. But really, I'm not picky. I can kind of vibe with anything. I can kind of see I can kind of see the light in anything, you know. So at any given time, I mean, I could be playing rock music, dance music, R&B, hip hop. Um, I just kind of take from everything, but you know, most specifically, yeah, I'd probably like an MJ, and then um, all those cats that were coming up in hip hop in the '90s, like um, everybody from fucking Bad Boy to everybody out west that was doing it, like with Pac and whatnot. I mean, I kind of take it all, you know what I mean? I'm like a sponge that way. Um, so I wish I could give a more specific answer, but you know, my tastes are as broad as I am, I guess.
So, do you have any like new music you got going on, like an upcoming album, mixtape, or EP? Any new music you have in the works?
Well, right now, I've been working with this. Lately, I've been working with this producer named Soul out of Toronto, um, and he brings a very kind of um, cool electronic sound to what I've been doing. And I've been working with 2 years now, and we're finally getting to the point where we've got enough songs ready to put out like a full compilation. So in the summer, we're putting out something just under the moniker Jhyve and Soul, and we're calling it a Super Mega Future Hit. And that should be crazy. That's something that I mean, it's near and dear to me because it's such a departure from everything that I've done up to this point. Um, a month and a half ago, we dropped the first single, So High, and it got a lot of blog love, and people have been really enjoying that song. So we're just looking to keep that going through the summer. So I'm going to put that out. As far as my own project, um, I always have thoughts of things, but I mean, in terms of raw right now, I don't think I have anything planned for myself up until later on in the fall, where I'm thinking of putting out an EP for myself. I don't really have a name or a title, but I've definitely got some songs together. And again, there's been a lot of growth over the past year. So, I mean, I'm saying this with a smile on my face. I'm really actually looking forward to people hearing the kind of stuff I've got coming up next.
Here's a question I want to ask you. If you can have a dream collaboration with any artist or any band or any producer for that matter, dead or alive, what would your dream collaboration be?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I It would have to be a. Can I say ties? Like I don't know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard
you can
because
do
there's
that.
been like
You can
choose
do
a
that.
lot of artists, but if I were like having to choose one, I would probably tap. Oh man, I mean, this is a really hard question. I'd probably go with like a Lauryn Hill. To be honest with you, I think I remember when I first started singing and playing guitar, and one of the things that inspired me in a huge way was when Lauryn Hill did her MTV Unplugged, and you know she didn't come with beats or anything; it was just her voice and the guitar, and you know a couple of drums in the back, and it was just brilliant. I remember, I still can remember the first time, you know, like what I felt the first time I heard that, and I think I'd want to recreate that if I ever had a chance. I'd probably work with her more than anybody, just because I'd be really curious to see. I think she's one of the few artists, like you were saying before, that really mastered the singing and the producing really, really well. I mean, she was a brilliant singer, but at the same time, she can out rap most rappers on any level, flow, lyrically, whatever it is. So I'd be really curious to see what would happen with that. Um, you know, she's still one of my hugest inspirations, so I think it would be an honor to get in the lab with her and see what can happen.
I'm definitely a huge fan of Longhair myself, especially since the Fuji days. I mean, when she came out with that record, Miss Education of Lauryn Hill, I mean that could have been the beginning of a big career. You know how artists part ways with groups and then they go on to have successful careers as solo artists. I truly believe
Absolutely.
I truly believe Lauren could have been one of those people, and unfortunately, that's not the case. But I mean, if you ever want to go back the way back machine, definitely Lauren's one of those peoples, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate that she had to go through some things. I just hope she gets it together so she can get back, bring that good music back. You know what I mean?
absolutely. I don't. She even up to this day, I don't. You know, she's no slouch. You know, I think there's plenty of time, and I think if she decided to do some new music now, she'd have a lot to say. You know, so I mean, I personally, I look forward to that record more than just about anything. Just to hear her come back and in a big way, you know, and really kind of show and prove why we all fell in love with her in the first place, you know.
Absolutely, man. So let me ask you this from a fan standpoint. I mean, you listen to a lot of music like everybody else does. How do you feel about today's music, the mainstream music that's on the
Uh,
radio, that's on the DJs playing them? I mean, how do you feel about the music that's out right now?
um, let's see. I'd say if we're talking about music in general, I think we're in a great place. Just because, I mean, you know, with the internet age and stuff, I mean, everybody and their mother can make music these days, and I mean, believe me, they try. But at the same time, you know, what it does is it just everybody's got their own little story to tell, and everybody's got something to offer. So, you know, you can if you can find anything you want if you're willing to look for it. I mean, there's music to fit any kind of genre, any kind of subgenre. There's people putting together different kinds of music in ways that are amazing. You know, I mean, you can find people out there that are, you know, putting together house music and trap music and like really making something cool out of like really combining genres and making old things new again. But your question was about the mainstream. And the mainstream, I think, is kind of where the mainstream's been in a while, just kind of stagnating, you know? I think there's a lot of signs of life. I think with the emergence of artists like I'd say, like a Kendrick Lamar even, I think he's emerging onto the mainstream scene in a way that's really authentic. It's, you know, it's real. You could see it. You could feel him when you know, when he's rapping, when he's doing his thing. So I think there's, you know, there's definitely some lights out there in the darkness, but for the most part, mainstream music is kind of business as usual. You know, it's not the place where you're going to go and find something fresh and new and creative, I think. But I think we all know that. I mean, music itself is, I mean, you'll have your mainstream, you'll have the stuff that appeals to just about anybody, but, you know, for the most part, there's always going to be those artists, you know, those artists that are the outliers, the artists on the outside that are willing to do something fresh and new and take some risks, you know, and I guess that's where I kind of see myself right.
Hey, if I could get your music on that mainstream, you know, it'll definitely go in the right direction because I feel like you bring something, the eclectic sound, like you mentioned. There's not a whole lot of that on mainstream today. And I'm definitely agree with you as it pertains to Kendrick Lamar. I mean, been a fan of him since his mixtape days, and to see
Hmm.
how he's evolved since then under Dr. Dre, I mean, sky's the limit for that dude. His flow delivery is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree. I think he's one of the few artists um, that really kind of came from a more underground scene. That's really, and I think that he's bringing his style to the mainstream. I don't think he's really changing and conforming. Um, he's really kind of bringing his own unique personality to music into the mainstream. So when you hear his music, it doesn't feel like he's making any sacrifices. You're just kind of getting more of him, which is cool. And people are accepting that; they're embracing it, you know. So I think it's a good sign for mainstream music when artists like him succeed because I look at that and I say, okay, if he can do it, then, you know, artists like myself, I think we can still go out there and make, you know, cool music that's clever and creative. It can still work, you know, we can still make it that way. We don't have to rush to kind of play the game, so to speak.
Last question before I let you go. Why don't you let the people know how they can learn more from you, your social media links, websites, any other links people need to know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can reach me first and foremost at Jhyve.com. That's plugged into all my social media. So you can find me on Facebook under Jhyve. You can find me um, at Twitter at This Is Jhyve. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I pretty much do everything. I like staying social, staying in touch with people. So you can kind of find me everywhere. But um, yeah, for the most part, you can go to Jhyve.com right now. Check out the music. I love putting my music online and stuff like that. I mean, I don't ask you to pay for it or nothing like that. Just go pick it up, check it out, enjoy it, you know, because that's why I made it. I made it to be enjoyed. So, yeah, go to Jhyve.com, check it out, and hopefully one of these days I'll be in your city rocking with you, you know?
Absolutely, man. I want to thank you for being on the show, courtesy of Music Spotlight Month. We're just interviewing indies and unsigned artists, trying to get them out there on the limelight. I wish you nothing but more success, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks again.
You have a good night.
So,
all right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was recording artist Jhyve, me all the way from Canada.